Do you know the difference between admiring Jesus and truly following him? The answer is going to hurt. Because admiring Jesus costs you applause. Following Jesus costs you your life. And the church today is full of admirers, but empty of disciples. Full of people who want the blessings, but run from the cross. Who sing about dying to self, but live for themselves. And maybe, just maybe, you are one of them. Maybe you have confused attending church with carrying the cross. Maybe you have traded the radical call of Christ for a comfortable version of faith. And today, we are going to confront that. Because Jesus never hid the cost. He never lied about the price. He looked into the eyes of crowds and said clearly, "If you want to follow me, it's going to cost you everything." Most of us grow up hearing about God's love, about grace, about the promises. And all of that is true. But somewhere along the way, someone forgot to tell us the hard part. Forgot to tell us that Jesus didn't come to bring an easier life, but a deeper life. That he didn't promise comfort. He promised transformation. And transformation hurts. Real change is painful. Because it demands that you die. Not figuratively, not poetically, but in a real, agonizing way. Dying to your dreams when they are not God's dreams. Dying to your desires when they don't align with his will. Dying to your reputation, to your pride, to everything you have built and called me. And many of us want heaven, but we don't want holiness. We want the crown, but we don't want the cross. We want to be called Christians, but we don't want to live like Christ. And that is not following Jesus. That is using Jesus. It is taking his name, his promises, and continuing to live our own way. It is wanting him to bless our plans instead of surrendering ourselves to his plans. And maybe you are reading this now and feeling a tightness in your chest. Because deep down, you have been negotiating with God. You have been putting conditions on your obedience. I will follow you, Lord, but don't ask me for that. I will obey you, but not in that area. And that is not the faith Jesus preached. That is a faith we invented to make ourselves feel good. Jesus said, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me." Daily. Not when you feel inspired, not when it's convenient. Daily. And the cross is not a pretty metaphor. The cross was an instrument of death. When Jesus spoke about taking up the cross, he was talking about dying. About a daily death. A death to everything you think you need to be happy, but which actually keeps you enslaved. A death to your rights, to your defenses, to your need to be right, to be recognized, to be loved the way you think you deserve. And here is the truth few preach. Following Jesus will cost relationships. It will. Jesus himself said, "I have come to bring division." He didn't come to make everything easier. He came to divide. To divide between those who truly follow him and those who only say they follow him. And when you start taking your faith seriously, when you start living differently, thinking differently, loving differently, the people around you will notice. And not everyone will like it. Some will think you're a fanatic. Others will think you're over the top. And some, the most painful ones, will simply walk away, because your light will expose their darkness. And most people prefer to hide the darkness than to face it. Following Jesus will cost your comfort. It will cost your Sunday mornings in bed when you should be in God's house. It will cost your time when you could be doing what you want, but God calls you to serve. It will cost your money when you have to decide between spending it on yourself or investing in the kingdom. It will cost your schedule when God puts someone in your path who needs help, but you are too busy. It will cost your image when you have to choose between being popular or being faithful, between pleasing people or pleasing God. And make no mistake, you cannot do both. Jesus made that clear. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot live for the applause of the world and for the approval of God at the same time. Following Jesus will cost your need for control, because you will have to trust. And truly trusting is terrifying. It is letting go of what you have always held on to with all your might. It is handing over your plans, your dreams, your relationships, your career, your health, everything, into the hands of a God you do not see. It is obeying even when it makes no sense. It is continuing even when you don't understand. It is praising in the wilderness. It is giving thanks in scarcity. It is saying yes when everything inside you is screaming no. And that is not easy. That is not natural. That is supernatural. And it only happens when you die to self and allow Christ to live in you. And perhaps you are thinking, but I thought Jesus came to give me abundant life? Yes, he did. But you misunderstood what abundance is. Abundance is not having more things. It is not having a life without problems. It is not perfect health, a full bank account, and conflict-free relationships. Abundance is having Christ. It is having peace in the middle of chaos. It is having joy in the middle of pain. It is having purpose when everything seems meaningless. It is knowing you are not alone, even when you are surrounded by emptiness. It is living fully, not because the circumstances are perfect, but because you are connected to the one who is perfect. Jesus never promised ease. He promised presence. He said, "In the world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world." He didn't say, "You will not have tribulation." He said, "You will have it." But he overcame it. And if you are in him, you overcome it too. But the path to victory goes through the valley. It goes through the pain. It goes through death. And most people don't want to hear that. They want a faith that makes them feel good, not a faith that makes them die well. They want a Jesus who solves their problems, not a Jesus who transforms them through the problems. But here is what few tell you. The price, however high it may be, does not compare to the value of what you gain. Because when you die to self, you finally live for real. When you let go of control, you finally find peace. When you stop living for the expectations of others, you finally discover who you are in Christ. And there is nothing in this world that compares to that. Nothing. No success. No achievement. No relationship. Nothing compares to knowing Jesus. To walking with him. To being transformed by him. The price is high. Yes. But what you receive in return is eternal. You receive a life that has weight. A life that has meaning. A life that does not end when your body stops breathing. You receive an identity that does not depend on what you do, but on who you are in him. You receive a peace that the world cannot give and cannot take away. You receive the presence of God. And that is everything. For what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul? What good is it to have everything here if you have nothing there? Jesus said, "For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." Are you hearing this? The one who tries to hold on to life with all his might, the one who tries to control everything, who tries to do it his way, will lose purpose, will lose peace, will lose true life. But the one who lets go, who surrenders, who dies, that one finds real life, finds real freedom, finds the real Jesus. And perhaps you are thinking, but I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I am strong enough. And you are right. You are not. None of us are. But Jesus is not asking for your strength. He is asking for your surrender. He does not need you to be perfect. He needs you to be available. He does not need you to have everything figured out. He needs you to trust him to figure it out. And when you surrender, when you stop trying to do everything alone and let him act, then you will see what God can do through a surrendered life. The problem is that most of us want to follow Jesus on our terms. We want to follow Jesus, but without giving up anything. We want the cross, but without the blood. We want the resurrection, but without the death. And that doesn't exist. You cannot have the glory without the suffering. You cannot have the crown without the cross. You cannot have the transformation without the death of the old self. It's an all-inclusive package. And Jesus never hid that. He was always honest about the cost. He looked at the crowds and said, "Count the cost before you follow me." He didn't want deluded followers. He wanted conscious disciples. Disciples who knew what they were getting into and chose to follow anyway. And today, he is asking the same question of you. Are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to die to yourself so that Christ may live in you? Are you willing to give up your dreams if they are not God's dreams for you? Are you willing to lose relationships if they are pulling you away from God? Are you willing to be misunderstood, judged, rejected, if it means being faithful? Because that is real faith, not the faith that makes you applaud, the faith that makes you kneel, not the faith that gives you comfort, the faith that gives you Christ. And here is the most beautiful truth of all. When you pay the price, when you truly die to yourself, you discover that Jesus already paid an infinitely greater price for you. You discover that he truly died so that you could truly live. And when you understand that, when you truly absorb the love that took him to the cross, paying the price no longer seems so heavy, because you are not losing anything. You are gaining everything. You are exchanging the temporary for the eternal, the false for the true, death for life. So the question remains, will you follow Jesus or merely admire him from afar? Will you take up your cross or continue carrying your convenience? Because the call is there, the same call he made 2,000 years ago. Follow me, not admire me, not use me. Follow me. And following means going after. It means leaving everything behind. It means not looking back. It means dying to who you were and becoming who he called you to be. And this is not for the weak. It is not for those who want an easy faith. It is for those who want a true faith, for those who are tired of pretending, for those who are tired of living an empty life they call full, for those who are ready to pay the price because they finally understood that it is worth it, that Christ is worth everything, that a life with him, even if it is difficult, is infinitely better than a life without him, even if it is easy. So today, I invite you to stop. Stop running. Stop pretending. Stop negotiating. And surrender. Truly surrender. Give everything up. Let go of everything. And follow. Follow Jesus not because it is easy, but because he is worthy. Not because it makes sense, but because he is the truth. Not because you have strength, but because he is your strength. And when you do that, when you truly pay the price, you will discover that in the end, you didn't lose anything. You gained everything. You gained Christ. And Christ is everything. If this video touched your heart, if you felt God speaking to you through these words, I want to ask you something. Don't keep this just for yourself. Share it. Share it with someone who needs to hear this truth. Comment below on the part that impacted you the most. Which phrase did God use to confront or comfort you? Because your testimony might be exactly what someone needs today. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Because here we are not playing church. Here we are living the real faith, the faith that costs, the faith that transforms, the faith that is worth it. And I want to walk this journey with you. So stick with me. And may God bless you. May he give you the courage to pay the price. And may he show you that in the end, every tear, every struggle, every death was worth it. Because you gained Christ. And Christ is everything.